So guys, we planted, I'm not going to say I'm embarrassed about how many acres we planted in food given the size of our farm. But we planted a lot. We planted about 12 acres in food plots on this given property. We got corn, we got beans, we got greens, we got it all. And even my property, world-class property, world-class neighborhood, world-class area, is not getting big bucks on my food plot right now. And I know why, but it still drives me a bit nuts. So here's the thing, we put all this money, time, and effort into the food plot. We sit on food plotting locations. We expect to kill our deer on the food plot because that's what we see on TV, that's what we see on YouTube. But the real reason that I'm not seeing a lot of deer on my food plot right now, even though I have a lot of money pumped into my food plots, trails, trail cameras, tree stands, all the stuff surrounding my food plots, is because there's a different food source that is hot right now, and it will continue to be more hot than my food plots until it is gone. It's the acorns. Whether I'm hunting in Kentucky over corn piles or I'm hunting in Missouri over food plots, neither one of those two options rival acorns, especially white oaks. So the difference between our white oaks and our red oaks is our red oaks are a bit more bitter. And I still love red oaks, guys, and you still need to be hunting red oaks, but at a different time of the year. A lot of times there's not a lot of white oaks in a given area. Well, then we should lean on our red oaks a little bit more. But otherwise, our red oaks seem to be more palatable later in the season when there's less food. But as of this time period right now that we are in, early season, food plot season, mid-season, October, September time frame, we think about hunting on our food plots initially and catching those deer coming into our green plots, our radishes, our turnips, our brassicas, our clovers, our beans, our standing corn, any of those. None of them are as attractive as your white oaks and your acorns right now. So what I would recommend doing is maybe backing up into the timber, getting more in that transition area and hunting, because those deer are still working to your food plots most likely, but they're probably not making it there in daylight hours. Prime example, last night we sat a stand about 150 yards off of my 12-acre food plot. 12 acres, that sounds crazy when I say it out loud. This 12-acre food plot, we didn't sit on that food plot. We moved back about 150 yards and we found the tree. Like there was literally 7 deer under that tree at one given time and about 13 deer within viewing distance at that given time. So those deer ended up moving out towards the food plot in which my parents were sitting in a muddy blind at the time, but they didn't come out until the last minute or two of legal light. Well, it's too late. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter how much money you pump into food plots or corn piles or any sort of attractant. I don't think there's anything that's going to beat the white oak crop when the oaks are raining down. So if you have white oaks on your property, run your trail cameras there, know when to hunt them, and just be aware and cognizant that those white oaks trump everything. Food plots, corn piles, anything. So how do you pick the right oak to sit under? That's the thing. We sit in the timber and there's oaks everywhere. In my given property, we have probably 70% of the timber is white oak. So that means that there's a lot of white oaks. There's a lot of food technically. Well, that's where we have to start using more scouting skills and maybe bank on some trail cameras a little bit, but not even so much that. We have to go out and maybe physically hunt the property. Sit on the fringes, get out there, and listen. What do I mean? Night number 1, we sat in a transition area on the way out to an agriculture bean field, and we sat and we listened and we listened and we listened, and we didn't hear much. We didn't hear much as far as acorns hitting the ground in that given area. We only saw 4 deer. This is a property in which there's a plethora of deer, more deer than I've seen anywhere in the country. There's a lot of deer here, but the deer weren't necessarily in this area, and the deer that were in this area were just moseying through. They weren't stopping and spending any time. We went to spot number 2 the following day in the evening, and we could hear acorns dropping. So that's a big thing. If you're going to spend time out in the woods, listen. Don't just listen for deer. Don't just listen for those blue jays chirping to tell you the deer are coming. Listen for the acorns hitting the ground. Another thing I'm doing is when I'm walking in, I'm not only looking for tracks in the dirt and things like that, but I'm looking for the acorn. I'm looking for the head of the acorn where it's already been nipped off, where these deer are spending their time. So you have to physically put some time into looking for them when you're out on the property. And here's the thing, if you're not seeing deer on your food plot, you should probably be doing something to see deer, which means that you should be moving into the timber, moving back a little bit farther. So as you are doing that, don't just walk into your stand. Don't walk into your locations, just marching in without paying attention to what's going on. Listen and look. Look for those acorns, listen for those acorns hitting the ground, and that'll help you decide what trees you need to sit under. Because in a place where the 70% of your timber is oaks, how else do you know? You have to be out there, you have to be listening, you have to be looking.